Kevin and Christine back with you on SportsCenter. The defending AFC champion Patriots made a big splash in free agency today, signing former Packers wideout Romeo Doubs to a 4-year, $80 million contract. Doubs effectively serves as a replacement for Stephon Diggs, who was released last week. He had 55 catches for 724 yards last season.
Christine, the Lions have their replacement for David Montgomery, bringing in former Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco to pair with Jahmyr Gibbs. Pacheco helped KC win a pair of Super Bowls in 2022 and 2023. Since then, though, a pair of injury-plagued seasons have seen Pacheco run for less than 800 yards in 20 games with only 3 total touchdowns.
The Giants filled a hole at cornerback, agreeing to a 1-year deal for up to $10 million with Greg Newsome II. He started 11 games for the Jags last season. New York lost cornerback Cordell Flott to the Titans this offseason. Newsome has 4 interceptions and 43 pass breakups in 5 seasons.
The Texans made another move to help out quarterback C.J. Stroud after a 3rd straight loss in the divisional round of the playoffs. Houston agreeing to a 2-year, $25 million deal with offensive tackle Braden Smith. The Texans have re-signed 2 linemen and traded away 2 others. Smith was a key run blocker for Jonathan Taylor with the Colts last season.
The Bears added a new weapon for Caleb Williams, signing former Lions wide receiver Khalif Raymond on a 1-year deal to help replace DJ Moore's production. Raymond totaled over 2,000 yards receiving and 8 touchdown grabs across 5 seasons in Detroit. He was also named a 2nd-team All-Pro as a return man in both 2022 and 2024.
The Jets continue to reshape their defense under head coach Aaron Glenn, agreeing to a 1-year, $5.5 million deal with former Bears corner Nahshon Wright. He had a career-high 5 picks for Chicago that led the league in forcing turnovers. New York has added at least 5 new starters on defense. Remember, no picks last year from that entire defense.
And the Bills found a way to keep tight end Dawson Knox on the 2026 roster amidst a difficult cap situation by signing him to a new 3-year contract. Sources told ESPN's Jeremy Fowler on Tuesday. The 29-year-old Knox has spent all 7 of his NFL seasons in Buffalo, amassing over 2,600 yards receiving to go along with 27 tutties.
Well, one player likely not going anywhere, Jaguars wide receiver Brian Thomas. Despite all the rumors that Jacksonville was willing to trade him, Adam Schefter says he's been told that the team is not interested in moving Thomas. Thomas was a Pro Bowler as a rookie with over 1,200 receiving yards, but he had only 707 last season in Liam Cohen's first year as the head coach. Nearly $3 billion with a B dollars have spent so far in free agency. However, there are still a number of big names left on the market. Defensive end Trey Hendrickson is the top player on that market as of right now. With much more, senior NFL writer Jeremy Fowler here to give us the latest around the league. And let's start with Hendrickson right now. Any takers?
There will be takers, but at what price is the key? Because Trey Hendrickson has conviction here. He believes he's earned, a payday of $30+ million per year, that he's a premier sack artist. Well, teams are certainly interested, and there are 6 or 7 teams that are trying to get in on this a little bit. Buffalo, I've heard a little bit, that could be a sleeper here. Tampa Bay has kicked the tires on it. So how far are those teams willing to go for a pass rusher who is great, but is also 31 and coming off some injuries last year? So they're trying to reconcile all that, but it should heat up this week. Premier players don't get to the market very often, so he should be taken up at some point.
And I know he's been dealing with the frustration over the last couple of years, still getting tagged, and now he's a free agent, and now we have silence so far. He played just 7 games this past season, still had 61 sacks over the last 5 years, 4th most in the NFL.
All right, so we're obviously still waiting on some big names in the quarterback market. Let's start with Kyler Murray, who's on the move.
Yes, so he should be cut tomorrow. Arizona could hold out a little bit of hope in the next 24 hours, see if they can trade him, kind of like the Jets and the Raiders did with Geno Smith. But by and large, he's expected to be released. He wants to be released. So really, he wants to take his time here and choose a team, maybe even make a free agent visit or 2. But Minnesota is considered the favorite. They've had Kyler Murray on their short list here, and they like the idea that somebody else is paying that guaranteed money, and it ain't Minnesota. So they can pay him for $1 million literally and get a steal, and hoping to reset his career for a good team. Then you have Aaron Rodgers. So my sense is the Steelers continue to believe and hope that Aaron Rodgers will be their quarterback. Now, we don't have a firm timeline, Kevin, because you know it's not your first rodeo with Aaron Rodgers, so this could be a while. But that's the feeling that, they hope he's a quarterback. They like Will Howard in the building, late-round pick last year. He's shown himself, acquitted himself well in the background there, and they've also done a lot of homework on this draft class, so perhaps they take one in the middle rounds. And then finally, you have, oh, that's small print there.
Kirk Cousins.
There he is, Kirk Cousins. There he is, Kirk Cousins set to be released as well tomorrow when the new league year begins. This could be a situation where he sits back and surveys the landscape. In the past, when Kirk Cousins was a free agent, he was a magma hot name. You know, he'd get that 3-year, $90 million deal from the Vikings years ago. This will be a little different. I think he's a backup plan for a few teams. Somebody floated to me around the league. Vegas could make some sense as a bridge guy. You know, if they want to sit Mendoza for a little bit,
yeah.
He's got the experience. We'll see. He wants to keep playing, though. That's the feeling.
Okay, well, he just had 8 starts in 2025. He's 38 in August. 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers.
With breaking news, Adam Schefter is reporting that the Raiders are sending quarterback Geno Smith and a 2026 7th-round pick to the Jets for a 6th-round pick in April's draft. Smith was a 2nd-round pick of the Jets in 2013. Spent the first 4 years of his career then and then moved on. And now he's coming back to the Big Apple. Our resident GM, Louis Riddick, joining us now. What do you make of the Jets bringing Smith back here?
Look, I like it, quite honestly. I really do. Because I think, look, considering the makeup of the coaching staff in particular, I like the fact that Frank Reich gets to work with Geno Smith here at the tail end of his career and really try and right some of the wrongs that happened to Geno, quite honestly, last year in Vegas, where he sacked 55 times, a career high, throws 17 picks. He hasn't thrown that many picks since his rookie year. And when you think about it, there's some really good pieces, Kevin, on the New York Jets roster, especially on the offensive line where they had 2 bookend offensive tackles that are really going to get better. He has Garrett Wilson at wide receiver. He has Mason Taylor at tight end. He's got Breece Hall at running back. So there's a lot of good things and a lot of good pieces for him to work with. But as we've seen numerous different times throughout the course of different quarterbacks' careers, it's really about the play caller, the guy who you're going to meet with every single day, and whether or not he can construct a plan that you trust and that you believe in so you can go out there and play at your highest level. I think that's what Geno has now.
We saw him thrive a couple years ago in Seattle, too, when you protect him and give him the opportunity and he has some weapons.
Yeah, for sure. More than 10 teams have spent over $100 million in free agency thus far. The Raiders lead the way with over $280 million spent and over $210 million guaranteed. Remember, each of the last 2 years, the team to spend the most guaranteed money reached the Super Bowl. So lots of teams made moves in the last 2 days. Who do you think improved the most?
Yeah, I think this is close. It's close between the Titans and the Raiders. But what Mike Borgonzi, the general manager of the Tennessee Titans, has done, along with Robert Saleh, is really put together a roster now that really, you think there's a lot of commonality that runs through this, meaning there's a lot of familiarity between the coaches and then the players that they brought in. Just think about the guys who Robert Saleh has coached, like Jermaine Johnson, John Franklin Myers. These are all guys that he's very familiar with. Cordell Flott, who they brought up from the New York Giants. I mean, he's also someone who they're very familiar with because Brian Daboll coached him at the New York Giants. Wan'Dale Robinson, same thing. You're seeing him on your screen right now. Brian Daboll knows exactly how to use him. You bring in Mitch Trubisky. He's going to help out Cam Ward. All of these acquisitions are very, very strategic. They're not just, let me just get one of those, fantasy football here, the best player there. They all make sense because of the interconnectedness of these guys in terms of their history.
Yeah.
And in my time, when you do things like that, you really do set yourself up for a high chance of having success the way you want. And I think Tennessee maybe will be able to duplicate some of the same things that you saw the New England Patriots do this year with Mike Vrabel. Yeah. They may be able to turn this thing around. I'm not saying they're going to the Super Bowl, but I think you could turn it quickly.
Yeah, that'd be very exciting for the Titans.
And then you help a second-year quarterback in Cam Ward, like the Patriots did specifically with Drake May.
That's right.
A team that has a veteran quarterback, that is the Rams. They went with their defense, and they remade their secondary after losing the conference title game. They traded for all-pro corner Trent McDuffie, then signed him to an extension. Then they picked up another Chiefs defensive back, signing Jalen Watson, 3-year deal. L.A. re-signing safety Cam Curl. So literally, when you look at this defense, we knew their weakest spot was that secondary, right? They addressed it immediately. And right now, according to Vegas, they're the Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah.
Have they done enough for that idea to be the favorites to win the Super Bowl?
I think they have. Look, Trent McDuffie is someone that Brett Veach, the general manager down there at the Chiefs, didn't want to lose, but he knew this was coming. He knew not only was he going to trade him and get a number one, but he also knew that Trent was in line for a huge extension. And look, there's only so much money to go around, and in Kansas City, they probably weren't going to be able to afford it. Look, Jalen Watson, that's another great pickup. To get 2 guys from the same football team, now we talk about familiarity, right? These guys are going to come into a new environment, a new defense that's going to be coordinated by Chris Schuler, who's a heck of a defensive coordinator out there in L.A. So they're going to be able to kind of talk amongst themselves and say, hey, look, these are the kind of things that we've done before that have really helped us as a group when we were in Kansas City. Maybe we can kind of impart some of that on some of the people here already in L.A. and elevate this secondary, which was clearly a weak point.
Yeah.
This team's loaded, very well coached. And look, you got to give their front office all the credit in the world for targeting these two guys, being aggressive and going out and getting them. Matthew Stafford coming back one more crack at it.
Yeah, you talked about how they were a weak point, that secondary. They allowed the second lowest opposing QBR and the fourth fewest yards after the catch per reception.